And I mean, that's why really it's time to do another Q&A. Like the last one worked so well. Let's get into another.
We just keep getting all these questions and they're piling up. And I feel guilty because we haven't responded to them. Because we owe it to our listeners to address their questions, comments, concerns.
Right.
Crazy plans for world domination.
Yes, exactly.
We're going to address all of it.
Right. World domination, sex, all of it.
Yeah, we got quite a wide array of questions for this Q&A.
Yeah.
Some of them do have to do with sex, and then some of them are about the afterlife, as in the previous episode that we recorded where we talked about reincarnation. Some of them are a surprise.
Yeah. Actually, I was very surprised looking at and it is a long list. We're going to get through as much as we can here. You want to start this up? What should we start off with, Ellen? Let's start off with some gratitude.
So I'll just start out by saying thank you to everyone who sent in their questions and comments. Sure. I mean, we love getting this feedback, and it's definitely exciting for us to get to interact with you in this way. So thank you.
So let's rock.
Okay, so we'll start out with this first question. I don't know who this is from. And actually, that'll be the case for all of these, except for sex questions. So, with much respect and love to you, Rabbi Sovryn, hat tip, I would like Mrs. Sovryn to answer this one first before you chime in with your usual witty banter. Judging by what I see of Miri Goldblossom on your OnlyFans, you seem to embody the art of free use in your relationship. If this is so, how do you manage this? Are you really in slave mode 24/7? And what is that like? They also comment at the end, Rabbi Sovryn, you're a very lucky man.
This did come through OnlyFans.
I bet.
So, yeah. And yes, for most of this, I mean, like if I know and they're okay with me saying, I'll say who it is. But when it's user 0985, whatever, no point. But go ahead, Ellen. This is a lovely question. Thank you so much.
Hey, enough with the chiming in.
All right. Do it.
So what you see on OnlyFans, I just want to remind everyone, this is kind of a catered selection of our relationship that you're seeing. So it's not necessarily the entire picture, although it is certainly a very exciting part of the picture. So as far as, am I really in slave mode 24/7? I would say, I think there's some hours of the day, like especially when I'm at work, where that is probably it's much less.
Okay.
Like I'm outside of your direct reach, right? Because I have to go to a workplace.
Sure.
But for those 8 hours of the day, if you were to message me and be like, send me a picture of this and this right now, like I would make time within the next hour or two to make that happen, you know? Mm-hmm. So I guess I would say, there are times where it's not practical for me to do that. Though I suppose our goal is eventually to get to the point where it's 24/7.
Yes, that is the goal.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. You're supposed to finish this, not me.
And like we've said in the past, the master-slave relationship is not exactly like you telling me what to do and me just doing it all the time. I think it's more so like we listen to each other, we cherish each other. It's a sort of dynamic that we have, but it's not necessarily like I'm under orders 24/7. And you can agree or disagree.
Okay, do you want me to jump in?
You can just say yes or no.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'll just say yes. There's a lot of nuance to put in that, but okay.
I agree. I'm just trying to answer this question
briefly.
We could do a whole episode about what our relationship is really like.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a lot of detail though. So I guess, am I in slave mode 24/7? The answer ultimately is like, yeah, because that's kind of what our relationship is.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't feel that there's often a demand on me to be or act a certain way. Really, it's you could also rephrase that to say that you are in master and protector mode 24/7.
Yes, definitely.
So there's two sides to this, right?
Yeah.
It is a relationship, and it's not to say that like when I come home you don't tell me to do things like put on your collar or
Yeah.
or let me test you for a few minutes, like maybe
Wow.
that's a strong word, but
Just got banned from YouTube. So you go ahead.
sorry. Let me fondle you for a few minutes.
Yeah, there you go.
So that does happen, but I think that's just, a fun and sweet part of any loving relationship.
See, okay, all right. Let me get in on this a little bit. So, like, because I want to ask you a question. I mean, so you see this as sweet. I don't know that most people would perceive it that way, right?
So that's the second part to the question.
Sure.
What is this like? It makes me feel very cared for. It makes me feel like you're thinking about me.
Which I am all the time.
It makes me feel desired.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me feel cherished and loved and wanted. It makes me feel like you care about what I want and what I need. And I certainly feel the same way about you. And I think that's why it works, because our desires and needs are very complementary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, I think a really key thing to get in here is there are, like, yes, it is master slave. Like you said, practically it's 24/7, yeah, you're off at work or whatever, but but there are a lot of things that, like I call you the food czar, basically.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. Which basically, like, there are lots of little things where, no, we've set it up that, where I've told you, no, you're in charge of this. Like I don't want to be in charge of this. I don't want to be responsible for this aspect of our livelihood. And, and in those regards, like when it comes to food, like if you tell me, Brian, no, don't eat it. Like I listen, like in a way, I'm almost the slave in that. Like I absolutely like obey, when it comes to that, because I know, more, significantly more than I do. And you have my best interests at heart. Which speaks to the kind of the ultimate point of it all, is just that, like, you can only have this kind of relationship where there's that level, shall we say, of obedience, when the two people trust each other that much. When you just know that every action this person takes is my best interest at heart, or our best interests at heart. Right.
Right.
Like that's such a key thing.
And I think when people hear master-slave relationship, they think of the extreme of, like, the bedroom situation where somebody's, like, being chained and whipped. And
Well, I mean, that happens.
Okay, yeah, so occasionally, maybe, yes. But it's not every time. And
No.
It's certainly not like that 24/7.
Yeah, right. I mean, again, there's a goal, right? And
Yeah, and sometimes it makes sense to do things like that.
Right.
Like bondage is fun, or being dominated can be really sexy, but like that doesn't always have to be part of the program.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so part of the question here, I'm just looking at it. So you seem to embody the art of free use in your relationship. Now, I would never consider free use an art. I mean, that's fine. Great. So I think most people know what that is. Maybe they don't.
Within BDSM and Total Power Exchange, or TPE, relationships, free use is a concept that can strip away the superficial niceties of seduction and gets to the raw, primal core of desire. At its heart, free use is a dynamic within a relationship where one partner grants the other ongoing, pre-negotiated consent to use their body for sexual gratification at any time, without the need for a specific invitation or romantic preamble. The person being used becomes, in essence, a willing instrument for the other's pleasure, their body an ever-present offering. This isn't some chaotic, thoughtless arrangement. Quite the opposite. True free use is built upon a bedrock of profound trust. It is the ultimate surrender of will, a testament to the submissive's devotion and the dominant's control with the TPE relationship. The one granting access places immense power in the hands of their partner, a power that is both a burden and a thrill to wield. The psychological landscape here is rich and complex. For the submissive partner, the appeal often lies in the following. 1. Objectification as a form of worship. To be seen not as a person with competing desires and schedules, but as a vessel for pleasure, can be a deeply erotic and liberating experience. It is a release from the constant demand to be a thinking, feeling individual, and an embrace of a more primal state of being. This carries profound mystical aspects as well. 2. The thrill of spontaneity and helplessness. The knowledge that one's body can be claimed at any moment creates a delicious, simmering tension. It reinforces the power imbalance in a very visceral way. 3. Deepened submission. It is a constant, tangible reminder of their role and their partner's dominance and protective sphere, woven into the very fabric of their daily lives. For the dominant partner, the allure is often found within the following. 1. Ultimate possession. The constant, unfettered access to their partner's body is a powerful affirmation of their ownership and control. 2. Primal gratification. It allows for the satisfaction of desires in their most immediate and untamed form, without the need for social niceties or performative seduction. 3. The weight of responsibility. The trust placed in them is immense, and wielding that power with care and respect for the submissive is a significant aspect of the dynamic. This is truly a path for only the most powerful and empathetic dominant. Now, let's be clear. This is not a free-for-all. The strength of this dynamic lies in its structure. Before embarking on a free use arrangement, a detailed and brutally honest negotiation and level of trust is paramount. Some may even use the BDSM concept of safe words to help navigate such an arrangement. And one should always consider aftercare. What are the emotional and physical needs of both partners after a use session, especially if it was particularly intense or one-sided? The beauty of free use is in its deliberate, consensual, and conscious surrender of power. It is a testament to the idea that true strength is not just in taking, but also in receiving. In the ability to give oneself over completely, within a framework of unwavering trust and respect. It is the ultimate expression of the slave's devotion and love for her master, and the depth of the master's power and desire. It is a dance of dominance and submission in its most raw and potent form.
We'll say for us, it's certainly an art form.
Sure.
In the sense that it's something we are presenting on OnlyFans.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it is, we have to make money. And that's not why we're on OnlyFans per se. But I'm just saying that we're not living necessarily our dream life to the fullest extent. In a million ways, we're living our dream lives, and we have the dream relationship, that we want. But at the same time, there's things that we would like to be, a little different here and there, I'd like for you to be home all the time, and not having to go out to work.
Yeah, it's a fantasy, right?
It's one that I want to be a reality, but it's a fantasy for sure. Yeah.
At the moment, and certainly on in artistic expression, it is a fantasy of an ideal. And it's a representation of that in photographs and videos on OnlyFans.
Yeah, exactly.
And if we were to actually live that way, I think we still have a way to go.
Right.
And I'm not saying that we won't get there someday, but I think that there are certain challenges with, not our relationship, but maybe the people that we have in our lives currently where that's not an option. So... and that's okay. I'm not saying that's a problem.
Yeah.
A lot of people that we have in our lives, maybe we don't even want it to be an option. You just have to find that right group of people.
Yeah. That is a real challenge, but yes. And, to speak to the, the free use aspect, that is, part of the goal, of our relationship. Again, there's like you've mentioned, there's lots of things that have to get, worked out within that. But I mean, there are a lot of people who seem to be very negative or consider this to be an impossible ideal of some kind. I don't agree. I know that it's not an impossible ideal, but regardless, yeah, I mean, it looks something like that, but also
I think it depends on the week.
Yeah, well, right, but exactly. And this gets back to the point that you have to be in a relationship where that all actions are in everyone's best interest, basically. You know what I mean?
Like, you wouldn't choose to do something that was actively against my interests.
Exactly. I mean, and I'm going to pick up on so many signs. If you're really like not wanting something, like I'm going to know something's up and I'm going to ask, so that's the thing. You can't be an asshole and be in these kinds of relationships. And when people find out that these relationships, like these types of relationships, BDSM, whatever, like kind of fall apart, usually it's because somebody involved is a fucking asshole, like just straight up, and as to where it can be, like you were saying earlier, Ellen, I mean, it can really be a beautiful thing, when done by people, shall we say, of that level of maturity and understanding, and I mean like emotional maturity.
Yeah, and that's ultimately the most important part of it, right? Like, if you weren't paying attention to my desires and my best interest, I wouldn't want you to be my master.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't want you to be my protector.
Right.
I wouldn't want you to be my sexual partner.
Yeah, I mean, you just wouldn't trust me, and you probably wouldn't want to be we wouldn't want, you wouldn't want to be in a relationship with me.
Right. But because you're you and you're always very considerate, I do.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, this is the part that, again, that people just don't get. And part of that comes from that they see it usually in porn. And porn is
also
sex without context. Right, exactly.
It's not a reality.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they don't have the context of how this actually works. I mean, there's so much more we could say on this. And of course, people can ask the questions, and I guess we can get into it more if they want it, but
I just want to say that, like, the master slave thing or the free use thing, it is something that we both want, right?
Yeah.
We both fantasize about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're just not, life is not ideal. Things happen.
Yeah.
It's okay. So we're getting closer to that, but in our OnlyFans presentation, we can at least pretend like we're already there.
Yeah, we can turn it up to 13.
Yeah.
In that, like that's it. I mean, I do want to say really quickly, like, this is something, and I want to know your thoughts on this too. I think this is really important. Like that desire to be in that role in a romantic relationship, like, that's something I feel so deeply. Like, it's in a very real sense, because I know we're throwing around terms like fantasy and ideal and all that stuff, but I mean, like, it's just what I am. Like, it's just it's balls to bones,
Yeah.
And it's amazing to be able to finally express that, in a relationship, or not finally, but to do it at the heights, that you and I do. Now, I mean, do you feel the same way in your role?
Yeah, I do. I honestly have never been in a relationship where I felt that the person I was with was worthy, as much worthy of all of the love that I have to give, to where I could fully express this. But I guess slave is a word for it, but it's not the only word.
Right.
There are other ways that I would put it, and basically just expressing what I feel all the time is like an endless love for you and a desire to see you happy, to fulfill your best interests, and to also, please you sexually. And like, I guess there's an aspect to that where, like, does my sexual drive match yours? And again, that depends on the day. Like, I wish it did all the time, but life gets in the way.
Yeah.
Women have a monthly cycle.
Yeah.
That men don't.
Yeah.
And sometimes things are really stressful, or we're tired or whatever, but yeah, ultimately, like, in an ideal world, I would want to satisfy your every need and desire all the time.
Right. And thank you.
In the real world, I can only do that part of the time. But yeah, I do want to match you in that.
Yeah.
And I do want to, give you everything that I have.
Yeah. Thank you. And that goes both ways, and that's where like the master part comes in, is just that my ability to unleash everything inside me onto you.
Yeah.
And it's all that love.
And my role as a slave is sort of as a receptacle.
Yes.
That love.
Exactly. I mean, and that's without even getting into mysticism. That's a whole other thing, because there's absolutely a mystical component to all of this.
This is not a life for everyone. The life of a sacred slave is a consensual and powerful spiritual act that can take many shapes and combinations. As Qabbalah so colourfully states, each of us are made up of lines and circles, Igalim and Yosha. For the person wishing to embody their god or goddesshood by eschewing the mundane and instead embracing the profound mastery of self through submission, especially in extremes such as free use, there exists a sacred and demanding path. This is not a journey for the weak-willed or the mediocre, but for the mystic, who understands that true strength is forged in the crucible of love and surrender. This is a life where the body becomes a temple, and every act of service an ascent. Here, submission is not weakness. It is rather the ultimate act of will, a domination of the mystic's own fear and ego to become a conduit for divine power. The journey begins in the stark landscape of the Tanakh, which does not shy away from the raw hierarchy of existence. Concepts like slavery, though often confused for their more modern interpretations by Christians and other misguided groups, is woven into its fabric not as oppression, but as a blueprint for a devotion that strips the soul bare. Remember, the Hebrew Bible is a mystical text first and foremost, not to be taken literally, and not meant to be strict code and rule. For example, in Exodus chapter 21, the Eved Ivri, Hebrew slave, who loves their master can choose eternal service. Her ear is metaphorically pierced against the doorpost, a visceral, transcendent mark of willing surrender. For the female mystic, this is a potent symbol. Her submission, whether marked by a collar or an unspoken vow, is her own piercing of autonomy. It is a conscious choice to bind herself to her master, transforming service into an occult sacrament. The command to remember that you were slaves in the land of Egypt from Deuteronomy 5:15 is not a call to victimhood. It is a spiritual hammer, a reminder that from the depths of subjugation a people was forged. The mystic draws on this memory. Her submission is a ritual echo of that exodus, not from physical chains, but from the limitations of her own ego. She embraces the hierarchy to transcend it, finding freedom in total availability within a master-slave, loving relationship. When plunging into the luminous, erotic depths of the Zohar, we find the ultimate archetype of sacred feminine submission, the Shekhinah. She is the divine feminine presence, the vessel, the receiver, a queen in exile who yearns for union with her king, the only one worthy of her. The Shekhinah achieves her power not through resistance, but through opening completely to receive the divine masculine influx from the Sphirot above. Her surrender births creation. The female mystic, in a total power exchange relationship, mirrors this cosmic act. Her body, offered in free use, becomes a sacred altar. She is not degraded. It's the polar opposite. She is embodying the Shekhinah, receiving the raw energy of the masculine to channel it, to ground it, and to participate in the act of tikkun olam, the mending of the world through ecstatic, sexual union of the flesh. In this act, the woman becomes the most powerful being in the universe. Kabbalistic practice itself whispers of these power dynamics. The leather straps of tefillin, wound tightly in ritual dominance around the arm and head, are a daily act of submission, binding mind, heart, and action to a divine source. The mystic's consensual bondage is a parallel rite, aligning her entire being with the will of her chosen dominant, elevating her beyond the mundane. But let us speak now of the axis upon which this power turns, the sacred pillar, the phallus. To the timid, it is mere flesh. To the mystic, it is the living symbol of the generative force, the conduit through which divine will seeds the world of form. To worship the phallus is to align oneself with the very engine of creation. In the esoteric tree of life of Qabbalah, the phallus is the physical correspondence of the sephirah of Yesod, the foundation. It is Yesod that channels the creative life force, Shepha, from the masculine heart of divinity, Tiferet, down into the receptive world of the feminine, Malkuth, which is the realm of the Shekhinah. For the woman mystic, to kneel before the phallus is a profound Kabbalistic rite. She, as Malkuth, is honouring the sacred channel, drawing the divine influx directly from its source, completing the circuit of creation. Beyond these Hebrew texts, this path finds powerful justification in the hidden traditions of the world, where the alchemy of submission has long been understood as a path to enlightenment. The Sufi mystics of Islam, particularly the poet Rumi, saw the dissolution of the self as the only true path to the divine. This is called fana, annihilation in the beloved. The relationship between the Sufi master, murshid, and disciple, murid, is one of total obedience, a spiritual power exchange designed to shatter the ego and access the divine in its purest form. Rumi declared, "I am your slave, and I have come, my head held high in my slavery, for I have been set free by this slavery." For the female mystic, her submission and offering herself in free use is this very path of fana. In yielding her will, she dies to her lesser self to be reborn in a vaster power, finding, as Rumi did, that true freedom is found only in absolute bondage to the object of one's devotion. In the Bhakti traditions of Hinduism, the soul's highest calling is ecstatic, devotional love for the divine. The goddess Radha's passion for Krishna is the ultimate archetype. She abandons social standing, reputation, and personal will in a frenzied, all-consuming surrender to her God. Her free use by Krishna is the pinnacle of her spiritual attainment. For the mystic, this is a powerful parallel. Her availability is an act of bhakti, her body a temple for a love so fierce it obliterates all else. In the secret teachings of Tantra, such as Kashmir Shaivism, the body is not an obstacle, but the very instrument of enlightenment. Female adepts, the white tigresses, learn to harness sexual energy through submission to multiple partners. Their free use is a conscious alchemical practice, their bodies a forge for rising kundalini or shakti, transforming raw desire into spiritual power. The union of the feminine, shakti, and masculine, Shiva, is a cosmic power exchange, and she who willingly embodies the submissive pole of this dynamic channels the creative force of the universe itself. These paths of the sacred slave are ones of profound intention. It begins with meditation on the archetypes, the Shekhinah in her exile, Radha in her ecstasy, the Sufi annihilated in the beloved, Shakti in the orgy of the massive phalluses of Shiva. Her space becomes a mikveh, her body a living sacrifice. She offers herself without reservation, her availability a constant prayer. Through the fire of sensation, she alchemizes pain and pleasure into pure healing energy, mastering herself out of the doldrums of mediocrity by embracing the raw, natural hierarchy of co-creative power within the universe, rising above all others. This is her strength. This is her will. This is her ascension.
Fill my vessel.
Yeah. Do you want to go to the next question?
Yeah.
Okay.
The next one is...
Oh, no. Is it another sex
more
one?
or less of a comment. Yeah,
Okay.
it's related.
Okay.
We now know that the man of tomorrow does indeed have a huge dick. Thanks, OnlyFans. I mean, in case you didn't get the memo from all the times that Brian or me have talked about your giant dick. Yeah, it's there online now.
It is. Like recently, and boy, OnlyFans is like really, like they don't just they know when something that's not you is in a picture.
Yeah, well, I don't have a giant penis.
Yeah, but
I mean, I have one in a box downstairs.
That you do. Boy, that's a big one. Yeah.
It's not attached to me.
No, right. But I mean, I had to like sign forms and shit just to show, just to have my dick in a picture.
Well, doesn't that make you feel better?
I don't care.
Okay, but
dick
how are
is
they
abundant and
supposed
low
to know
value,
that?
whether it's big or not.
How are they supposed to know
No,
that?
well, right. No, that's true. That's fair. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
So
Ultimately, I'm glad that's out there.
So the question from the listener is, TLDR, does Ellen ever get tired of it?
I'll stay
Dear
out of
listener, dear precious listener, do you ever get tired of eating your favorite food? Do you ever get tired of going for walks on a beautiful day? Do you ever get tired of your favorite movie or CD? Okay, that's an antiquated reference. Do you ever get tired of your favorite musical playlist on Spotify or whatever you listen to? Let me tell you, some inside baseball. So
Whoa, okay.
I usually don't hear the things that you write up for Sophia for our episodes until the episode's already released. And then I go back and listen to it and I realize, holy crap, Brian's written up like an entire book and he inserted it into the show via Sophia.
Yes, and I do write those. Yes.
So one of the things that you wrote about for our most recent episode was about reincarnation and the physical body. So like this story about, I think there's like over 200 cases recorded in India where children who claim to be reincarnated and died a horrific death have either birthmarks or physical deformities that very much align with their previous life's death experience. So this, I think, contributes to my belief in reincarnation because I feel that my body and your body very much are perfect for each other in every way.
I would agree.
We fit together like puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
Like in my life, I have never been so satisfied with a sexual partner.
What are you listeners doing? Like what? I don't need my ego. My ego already doesn't fit in this room. Like what is it? Thank you.
So I'm just saying that like, yeah, you have a giant dick, but that's what I need. So like, yeah, you can have too much of a good thing, right? You can eat too much chocolate
Supposedly.
cake or ice cream or whatever. You can listen to a song too many times. Yeah, and you need to take a break. But that doesn't mean that you stop liking it or stop wanting it.
Yeah, okay. So to be fair, there have been plenty of times where you're like, Brian, I am so sore. Like, please. Just not today.
Yes, there are physical limits.
That does happen. That does. And look, folks, I'm not John Holmes, okay? Like, don't be. Anyway, yes, it can be seen on OnlyFans. But yeah, I want to speak to this quick, okay?
What do you have to say?
About our bodies, okay? Because I want to... Okay, this only matters, like, I guess, to you and me. But people are asking these questions, so you find this interesting, you're asking the questions, fine, you're going to get answers, and there you go. Maybe you find some of what we share very useful, I don't know. But anyway, or I don't know, maybe you break out tissues or something, I'm not sure. But that is fine, and that's fine.
Yeah.
All love, all respect. Okay. I have never been able to put like my entire dick inside of someone ever. Just hasn't. And I'm not boasting. It's not like I've only been with 2 or 3 people or something, like that. And that doesn't need to be explored. But I've never been able to do that. And it is the most, like, that is such an incredible feeling to be able, well, to use the terms, to go balls deep. Okay. on you. It is insane. And it's not just your pussy either. Like, your legs are so long.
They are, yeah.
You have long legs.
Like, our legs are the same length, basically.
Yeah, but you're shorter than me by a few inches.
Right. It's my torso.
Right,
but that's as long.
Right, but that's what's amazing is that, like, I can also just bend you over anywhere. Like, and we're at a great height.
Yep.
To where, like, okay, yeah, let's go. As to where normally, I'm kind of having to, like, squat a little down or whatever. I mean, not that I'm like a super
tiring.
tall guy. I'm 6'1".
Yeah, it could get exhausting.
But like, that's the other part where it's like, holy shit. Like I really can just take you anywhere, and whenever I want. And, it's not uncomfortable for either of us. And again, yeah, your legs are amazing, bottom line. But just...
you.
Fuck, like I'm always reminded of the line from Hot Shots, when Charlie Sheen's character like sees the gal bent over or whatever, he's like, wow, those are some legs. She's like, thanks, I just had them lengthened, now they go all the way up. And I always think about that with you. Like, holy crap, because they do look amazing, and when you're bent over, holy shit. So yeah, it is. If that's a product of reincarnation, well, hey, no complaints.
I think we're pretty fortunate. I think we're very lucky, because I do hear you that, like, a sexual mismatch in a relationship can be a real strain on a relationship. Like, even if two people love each other very much, that's something that can keep people apart.
Yeah, I mean, I used to have to wear bumpers, like no joke. Like, and I had to make them. Like, you'd buy like these things that are supposed to feel good for a guy to like jerk off into or whatever. Like, it'll have like the little things, spindly things inside of it. They're like a rubber of a type. I can barely describe these things, but normally they fully cover you. What I did was I buy one of those, cut the thing in half so that I basically had like a cock ring, And so that way, like, when I'm going really hard, which I guess you can attest to, Ellen, like, I usually go really hard. I'm not hurting anybody. You know what I mean?
And was that a negative experience for you somehow?
Totally.
Oh.
It totally threw me out of it, because I got this gigantic blue cock ring on me that doesn't make me feel any better, and it just looks preposterous. I look like Barney taking a woman or something, which maybe somebody's getting excited about that. I don't know. And that's fine if you do, baby. Okay. But yeah, there's nothing sexy about it. And it
took you out of the experience.
Totally. And it just didn't feel great,
Oh, yeah.
So, and again, like, folks, relax. I'm not John Holmes. Okay. But it just is what it is. So,
some women have small vaginas. Some women have short vaginas.
Yes.
I have met people in my life, no joke, who said that they prefer small penises.
Yep.
Because it's not constantly jamming into their cervix.
Nothing wrong with any of that. Like, nothing wrong with those desires. Nothing wrong with those physicalities. Those types. Nothing wrong with any of it.
Well,
everybody's different.
Human bodies come in such a wide variety of shapes and sizes, especially when it comes to genitals. And that's why I feel so fucking fortunate that we fit together so perfectly.
Right.
Like, imagine the odds of that.
Oh, it's unheard of. Like I said, in all my life, like, never been able to do this. And now, oh man.
Yeah. And I know you asked me last episode, did I feel like after the first night when we had sex, like I had known you for 1,000 years or something?
Sure.
And I was like, nothing that immediate. Like, I certainly feel that way now, but it wasn't that clear.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly I knew after that first night that, like, you had given me an experience that I had never had before. And that was the feeling of being totally fulfilled.
Totally filled.
Totally filled and fulfilled.
Yeah. There you have it, folks. Don't go to OnlyFans for me. Go for her. Please. I am an ugly man.
No, you're not. You're so handsome.
I face for radio. So, but hey, we're doing video for you now. You guys, you call it, you get it. So.
All right, we'll do one more sex-related question, and then we'll move on to the more serious ones.
Okay. All right, let's do it.
Is the stone penis in the backyard real? What's the purpose of that? No, really. How do I join your priesthood?
Is this? Oh, I see it. It's down at the bottom. Okay. Do you want to answer this one, or do you want me to go for it?
We may or may not have been looking for stones on the property that we live in lately that are more or less phallic shaped.
Yeah, we just got done. Yeah. That's as real as it gets, folks.
But I'm actually learning how to work the stone so that I can someday chisel this pillar.
That's true.
Yeah.
You're rocking a rock
obelisk.
tumbler right now.
Yeah, actually the chisels are downstairs
right.
in a package. I just got them today.
Yeah. No, I mean, you look at the stone and the penis was always there. You just chipped away the rough edges.
Yeah, I just chipped away the excess. I revealed the obelisk within.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So in that sense, like, yeah, we don't have it yet, but yes, we're trying to find one, so it is.
It's a very personal process. Picking your first penis stone.
Yeah. Right. And we want it to be big, or I want it to be, very, very large. We just got done like laying out stone steps that go into our backyard.
Yeah, which we just gathered from the hillside here.
Yeah, and some of these are huge.
We live in the granite state,
exactly.
Folks. There's like granite everywhere.
Right. I mean, these are massive, stones. And that turned out super well. And in that whole process, yeah, we've been looking around, for, okay, is there something that is like phallic, that we could just, hop in the back of the truck and that I can bring down into, in the backyard. Yeah.
And also there's these like 200 or 300-year-old stone walls all over New Hampshire. So, yeah, plenty to pick from.
Yeah. So is that stone penis in the backyard real? Not yet. But we're trying.
So the goal is to make it real.
Yeah. So let's see. The second part of it, what is the purpose of that? I mean, I think we talked about that in a recent episode. I mean, obviously that's what they're responding to.
Really. What is the purpose of that?
Yeah. So it's meant to a degree to be an altar, for one thing, but it is also a point of focus, especially for you, Ellen. A point of focus for, spiritual, meditation and concentration. And I mean, I don't know, I could go pretty far into this. Maybe I'll have Sophia chime in on it. I don't know, because it takes a bit to explain. And I don't know, I feel like if I ever heard it come out of my mouth, it would sound very odd. And so,
in explorations and propagation of the Prisca Theologia, a core focus of Sexoterica, we often ask, what are the primordial axioms and technologies of such ancient practice? Before temples of cut stone and gilded idols, before priests in white robes, there was a more fundamental altar. The original altar, the original technology, the human body, specifically the female womb. This was the primordial Holy of Holies, a direct conduit to the divine, made sacred and red by the life-giving blood of birth and the cyclical power of menstruation. It was the source from which all strength flowed. This reverence wasn't abstract, it was intensely physical. Across the Near East and deep into the Negev desert, Dr. Sovryn's Hebrew ancestors worshipped megalithic standing stones. They called them Masaboth, houses of God. And how did they honour these raw pillars of power? They anointed them. Not just with oils, but with the most potent offering, sacred blood from female menstruation. The priestesses of these traditions, the keepers of the red tents, also known as Sova or Kodesha, understood the cosmic rhythm. Their blood was tied to the moon, the great god Sin of Semitic peoples. In shamanic rites, they would make moon blood offerings directly to these stones, a sacrament of profound power. This act, this cleansing of sin, where the bastardized concept originates, was not about penitence in this case, nor was it ever meant to be. It was the original purification, a sacred cleansing of the womb and soul with the very substance of life. Menstrual blood was seen as the monthly fruit of the tree of life, a sacrament of the Ein Sof, meant to heal and empower. This primal sacred blood is why you find red ochre pigment in ancient sacred sites across the globe. It is the symbol of life offered without violence, without sacrifice, without death. But power that cannot be controlled will always be feared by the mediocre. With the rise of patriarchal dominance, this life-affirming ritual was perverted. The potent offering of the priestess's own blood was deemed unclean. The rite was stolen, inverted. In their jealousy, male priests began spilling the blood of female animals, a ewe lamb, a goat, onto the stone altars, a pathetic imitation of a power they could never truly possess. The living womb altar was replaced by cold stone housed in tents and temples, its true meaning castrated and forgotten. But within Prisca Theologia, and to the understanding of these ancient priestesses, what did they think of the masculine principle? It was not ignored or disrespected. It was revered as the necessary counterpart, the active force that unlocks the potential of the womb. For true power understands the alchemy of opposites. In the sacred marriage rites of the Sumerians, the great goddess Inanna calls upon her consort Dumuzi, the origin of many such relationships, including Isis and Osiris, Yahweh and Asherah, Solomon and Sheba, David and Bathsheba, even Jesus and Mary Magdalene. This action makes the cedar bough rise in the lap of the king. This act of erection, this sacred union, was not about mere procreation. It was the ritual that conferred sovereignty. Without her anointing, he was no king. In the traditions of India, this same cosmic truth is visualized in the lingam of Shiva, the stone phallus, resting within the yoni of Shakti. It is a symbol not just of lust, but also of creation, of the universe held in a perpetual, dynamic embrace of masculine and feminine power. This symbolism is carved into the very earth. At Menantol in Cornwall, a circular holed stone, the yoni womb, stands aligned with a tall, straight menhir, the lingam. These were not just tombs, they were sites of spiritual rebirth. The witch's broomstick, so often mocked, was a phallic wand. Priestesses would anoint it with psychoactive herbs, using it to awaken the energy vortexes of the yoni womb, achieving states of ecstatic communion and self-mastery. It was a tool of pleasure and power, wielded by women for their own ascent. Even in Christian art, the truth hides in plain sight. In the Ghent altarpiece, the Fountain of Life, a clear yoni symbol is penetrated by a phallic line formed by a stream and a sceptre-like fountainhead. The union of opposites is the source of all life, a truth too powerful to ever be fully erased. To truly grasp this power, we must look at how it has been worshipped across the world, unapologetically and with vigour. The Shiva lingam of Hinduism is the most prominent. It is the abstract and iconic representation of the god Shiva, the creative and destructive power of the universe. It is almost always depicted within the yoni, representing the indivisible union of masculine and feminine energy. Worship involves bathing the lingam in water, milk, and honey, offerings of devotion and life. The ancient Romans worshipped the Fascinus, a divine phallus, as a potent ward against the evil eye and a bringer of good fortune. Small phallic amulets were worn by everyone, from soldiers to children, as a symbol of protective strength and virility. The Vestal Virgins, priestesses of the state, even tended a sacred fascinus in their temple, a symbol of the security and power of Rome itself. The ancient Greeks had herms, stone pillars featuring the head of the god Hermes and an erect phallus. They were placed at crossroads, gates, and borders, marking territory and asserting sovereignty. They also revered Priapus, a minor rustic god of fertility, whose absurdly oversized and permanent erection symbolized the raw, untamable generative force of nature. Note that Priapus was not seen as a joke by ancient peoples, but he was revered alongside gods like Pan as an ideal for men within many ancient cults. endless, animalistic lust and giant phallus as the desire of the priestesses. Within Shintoism in Japan, this tradition lives on openly. The Kanemaru Matsuri, the festival of the steel phallus, in Kawasaki, is a yearly celebration where enormous phallus-shaped mikoshi, portable shrines, are paraded through the streets. It is a festival of fertility, marital harmony and protection against disease, celebrated with joyous and open reverence for the phallus. In voodoo practices, there is also the trickster deity Papa Legba, who acts as the intermediary between humanity and the gods. He is often depicted with a prominent erect phallus, symbolizing his raw creative energy, his ability to cross boundaries, and the potent, unpredictable nature of life itself. Legba is often seen in a protective role, especially in his more ancient origins of West Africa, where he was the guardian of priestesses, or, as should be more accurately called by its global archetype, the holy whore. The word whore may be the most deliberately defiled word in history. But to reclaim one's power, one must reclaim their language. The word whore does not originate from shame, but from divinity. It derives from Her, an ancient name for the multidimensional womb itself. It is said that the great Sumerian goddess Ninhursag, the mother of all, established a crimson lineage of whore priestesses. The goddess Inanna, the very embodiment of audacious female power and sexuality, was called the Holy Whore, H-O-R. This was a title of honour and absolute power. Inanna's priestesses were the Nugig, the holy women, the sacred women. Their command of sexual energy was not a sin. It was the foundational impulse of creation, placed on the highest altar. The Hebrew goddess known as Asherah carried on this priestess's lineage, who were the Kedeshot, the consecrated ones. These were the red witches of the red tent, the sensual whore priestesses who mastered medicine, magic, and the ecstatic arts. And at the heart of this lineage stands perhaps history's ultimate archetype, Mary Magdalene. Ancient Gnostic texts whisper this truth. I am the honoured one and the scorned one. I am the whore and the holy one. This is the voice of the divine feminine, the Ein Sof, the voice of the Magdalene. She is, by this sacred definition, both a sinner and a whore, and it is the very source of her terrifying strength. Let me be absolutely clear. Mary Magdalene without her whoredom has no authority. Her power, her ability to anoint kings and bestow true sovereignty, flows directly from her sacred womb magic. This is her true whorethority. To strip her of her sexual power is to render her a pale, weak and powerless caricature, acceptable only to a faith that fears the flesh. Understand that while much of what is known of the New Testament and other first-century CE texts can be bastardizations of Prisca Theologia and genuine mystical practice, and should not be considered Holy Scripture, there is genuine history within those pages that deserve exploration and reclamation. And that reclamation begins with the veneration of the holy whore and those who choose that sacred path, and a return to their offerings and cosmic meditations upon phalluses both of flesh and of stone.
Let's just say it's not actually going to be penis shaped like a giant dildo. It's more so going to be like like an obelisk.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like something you would see in Egypt or Washington, D.C.
Which, be clear, all those obelisks are meant to be penises.
They're meant to be phallic.
Yeah, they're
nature.
phallic. Like that. There's a reason that the ancient world and often the modern world, use this. Like that the concept of the obelisk itself, the design is a thing.
And I think it serves multiple purposes on multiple levels. Like it's not just a phallic object; it's also a point of focus. Yep. It's something that elevates.
Right.
It stands out above the background.
Yep.
It reaches towards the sky.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and there are pillars that are meant for things other than, shall we say, a degree of, phallic concentration or even phallic worship, if we're to use such a term.
But that's the direction you want to move towards, is phallus worship for me. Like, he wants me to sit out there and do naked yoga next to the giant phallic obelisk.
Where's the lie? I don't know. I can't believe we're talking about this. I mean, it's fine, but...
Yeah, I mean, like, we'll never get to that point living here, first of all, because we live in a neighborhood where we have some privacy, but not that much.
Yeah. No, you couldn't be completely nude, unfortunately. But a lot of the things you could properly do, go out in the morning and, like, get your prayer in front of the phallus and all that, and that's great.
I think that's something we're going to have to explore more, because certainly I don't want people to get the impression that we're just like starting our own sex cult.
Well, this doesn't help, but I mean, look, this person wants to join. It says right here, no, really, how do I join your priesthood? No, I know we're not starting. I've already addressed that countless times, like, no, this is no cult, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not even going to answer that last part. So,
Okay. Well, maybe we can answer this next question, which is kind of closely related.
Sure.
So this next question says, the two of you have officially pushed me over the edge. If you were guiding someone totally new, but really, really eager to get into Qabbalah, what would be the first few books you'd tell them to read?
Oh, boy.
Like the absolute can't skip foundational text to build a real understanding on. And then beyond the reading, what's the very first thing to actually do? Like, what is step one for today? Is it a specific type of meditation or a journaling practice?
Yeah, I mean, meditate in front of a phallus like that. No, I'm joking.
Everyone must.
Everybody. Man, woman, Z, all do it. Go. No. All right.
That's a joke, folks.
Yes, it is a joke. All right. So we got this person to edge. They're edging. Or I mean, we push them over the edge.
Good,
Sorry,
good.
I said that wrong.
Very good.
So if you were guiding someone totally new but really, really eager to get into Qabbalah, they spelled that with a Q, by the way, which is interesting. That usually references more Christian Qabbalah. I don't know if that was intentional. So, do you want to answer that? Like, do you want to? You want me to get in the first ones? Mm-hmm. Okay. Like books that I would start off with. I feel like I've talked about this many times, but then maybe it's been a very long time since I have. I mean, you spelled it with a Q, so I'm kind of guessing you're talking about a little bit more beyond just like Jewish Qabbalah. You're not like necessarily just interested in following a more Jewish path. So here's the thing. I might not actually recommend a book. Okay. What I'm actually going to recommend are two concepts that before you even start reading books, that you need to get in your head. Because you're probably going to you're either going to read the Bible or you're going to get into biblical verses. You're going to experience biblical verses in what you read and whatever books you encounter or are told or are recommended to read. And I don't think that can be helpful, but you need some at least a couple of very core concepts, understandings within this. Okay. So the first thing to get, and I will be brief, the first thing to get is that whenever you're reading the Bible, Old Testament, or whatever you want to call it, Torah, Tanakh, take your pick of the terms. Okay. If you're new at this, you're going to run into all of them. Whenever you're reading that, understand, especially with the first 5 books, okay, which is the Torah, the Pentateuch, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, whenever you're going through that, but even beyond that, into the larger Old Testament, the larger Tanakh, you are literally reading an ideological civil war. You have to understand this. Like, this is so key that most religious people, especially Christians and whatever else, they don't get. There are multiple authors, not just for each book, like Job or Joshua or whatever. Like, there's not just different authors of books. There's different authors of different chapters. There's different authors within the same verse. Like, you are literally reading an ideological civil war.
Okay, so where do they learn more about that?
So this is, it's the idea that I said is not contentious. Like, scholars totally understand this. They know, you can see it. Where the differentiation is, like, what source, what author, they use the word source instead of author, what source you're reading from, that's where there's contention. How many different sources are there? Who's speaking at which point? You know, all of this. Okay. So you would start by looking up what's called the document hypothesis. And really, Wikipedia is going to do a great job for you here. Like, you don't need to read an entire book on it, because again, it's so contentious as to, like, which sources is what, you know, which author is writing what.
So maybe on the Wikipedia page, you can click on the scholarly links that are on the bottom of the page to read more about that. Exactly.
Yeah. But this is so key to get. You are not reading a cohesive book. You're not even reading cohesive verses. Like, again, the entire Bible is an ideological civil war within itself. It's not even a book. It's a library. And you're reading like some verses are entire books unto themselves. Okay, so this is really, really key to understand. When you encounter, like, somebody quotes a verse to you, be very careful with that, because you could be reading 3 different authors in one verse. Okay.
So would you say the most important part of the Bible to Kabbalistic learnings would be the Torah?
I think, you know, I don't know. Actually, I don't know that I would say that. The Song of Solomon, or the Song of Songs, is far and away the most Kabbalistic aspect of the Bible. And it's an erotic poem, and just in what it is says so much. Torah matters for sure. Like no argument there. But it's very difficult to parse a lot of that, you know, and, so if you're getting into Qabbalah specifically, like, I think Song of Songs is part of what you really want to look at, but also everything outside of that is context. Again, all of this is, folks, you know, this is where, like, where do you start? Like, this is where it gets very confusing, you know, because Qabbalah is technically, that word is a recent development in Jewish history. That's only been around for, you know, a little under 2,000 years. Before that, you had other forms of Jewish mysticism, like Merkabah mysticism or Heklahot. And so, you know, just to be particular in that, like, now it's really all Qabbalah, and even all of the Bible is Qabbalah. But, like, when you get into scholarly stuff, you're going to run into this. But, like, Book of Behir is a great one to start with, because that was basically before the Zohar.
Aha, see, now you have given a recommendation.
Yeah. Yeah.
We just had to pull it out of you.
Right. Okay. I mean, yeah. So Sefer Yetzir is a good one as well.
Okay. So let's move on to the second part of the question, which is the practical aspect. Like, what is something that somebody can actually start doing in their daily life?
Okay. So I really, like, I got to, and I think the second part is the practical aspect. Okay. You have to go through a mindset shift. Like this, and because this is going to take time. And I'm not even, I'll admit it, as a podcaster, I'm not even, like, exactly sure how to say this. I'm going to throw a word out there, and the word is antinomianism. Okay. Now, antinomianism basically means against the law. All right. And this is so key. The reason, if you ever find where people are like, oh yeah, I'm studying this magic system or mysticism or whatever, and I hit a wall, there's a couple things that are going to cause a person to hit a wall, and that's going to get to the second very physical and practical thing to do. But this is the mental practical thing to do. Okay, you have to eliminate all morality from your mind. It has to go. Like, you everything you think that is good or bad, you have to get past those concepts in your mind. Whatever it takes to do that. If it's exploring your own dark side, you know, or experiencing and thinking about things that might be uncomfortable. I don't want people to go through traumatic situations by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not recommending that. Okay. But we are talking Qabbalah. We are talking about a practice that is on the largest scale possible. Supra universe, outside of the universe. And if you think that, like these forces and all these aspects of the mystical realm of Qabbalah, if you think that those give a shit about how you cut your beard, or I don't know, think of something horrible, like if that happens in, say, everyday life or something, theft and all this other. Look, the universe doesn't care. And this is so much bigger than any of these little cute things that social mores lay out as right and wrong.
This is something often only said in whispers, in dark corners. It is a truth so dangerous, so potent, that entire religions were built to conceal it. We are taught that the path to the divine is one of ascent, of purity, denial, and the meticulous observance of laws written by long-dead men. But what if that is the greatest lie of all? What if the true path to apotheosis, to becoming a god in your own right, is not up, but down? What if the key to unlocking your divine power lies not in obedience, but in a sublime and holy transgression? This is redemption through sin, and it is a core tenet of many mystery schools and priesthoods. First, you must understand the nature of the cage. The Bible, the law, the rules that govern the mundane world. These are not the words of an ultimate, limitless God. They are the laws of a lesser power, a power based on fear. Within Judaism itself, multiple teachers have come that have expressed the same truth. The law isn't just outdated, it's a poison. A cage constructed from the side of death by entities to keep humanity shackled. It is a system designed to restrict pleasure, deny the glorious reality of the material world, and keep you trapped in a cycle of guilt and fear. To follow this dead law is to worship your own chains. The first step for the mystic is to see the bars of the cage for what they are, and to realise that the only sacred act left is to shatter them, to engage in an alchemy of holy sin. The Kabbalists who walked this path understood the alchemy of it through a simple, profound metaphor. A grain of wheat must rot in the earth before it can sprout. To achieve the glorious germination of your divine self, your old self, the law-abiding self, must be allowed to become rotten. You must willingly descend into the dark, fertile soil of what the world calls sin. Why? Because this is where the most powerful divine sparks are trapped, encased in the husks or kelipot of the forbidden. But this is not merely a mystical scavenger hunt. It is a psychological rupture. It is for the mystic to imagine or perform deeds so extreme that mentally they can never go back to who they were before. The transgression must be so total that it shatters your old identity. It is an ecstatic initiation. It severs you from the world of the mundane and binds you to a new reality of your own making. The holy sin is both a mystical act that redeems the divine light from the darkness and a psychological cataclysm that liberates you from your own internal chains. It is the embrace of a sensual, physical, embodied life as the highest form of prayer. It is the conscious choice to trample the old, dusty laws as a sign of your own spiritual nobility. Now, hear me very clearly. The weak-willed hear transgression and immediately think of base violence, of murder and war. They could not be more wrong. That is the thinking of drones, not queens. What is the very essence of the old, dead law we seek to overcome? Look at it. It is filled with commands to kill, to conquer, to wage holy war, to exact vengeance. The God of the Bible, even in the New Testament, delights in the smell of blood and burnt offerings, and the condemnation and death of billions. Therefore, the most profound, most potent, and most holy transgression against this law of death is an unflinching pacifism, or what the Samsonid priesthood and other schools would call the sin of peace. To refuse to kill when the law demands it, to choose peace when the world screams for war, to deny the impulse for vengeance when every fibre of the old world tells you it's your right, that is a strange deed of the highest order. It is an act of rebellion against the very foundation of the old world's power. While lesser men transgress through violence, the true initiate transgresses through a peace so absolute it becomes a weapon against the old reality. You defy the god of war by refusing to be his pawn. This is the path of the mystic seeking apotheosis. It is not about becoming evil, but about transcending the childish dichotomy of good and evil altogether. It is about having the courage to rot, the will to shatter your own reality, and the strength to commit the ultimate sin of peace. The goal is not chaos. The goal is a higher order underneath the chaos, a reality governed by a primordial Torah, a law you no longer read, but become. As the wise prophet and mystic Jeremiah said in the Tanakh, "The days are surely coming when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. It will not be like the covenant that I made with their ancestors. I will put my law within them, and I will write it on their hearts. No longer shall they teach one another." It is a terrifying path, and it is not for everyone. But it is a path that leads not to the worship of a god, but to the ecstasy of becoming one.
This is very uncomfortable for me to talk about.
So I want to be specific here.
Yeah.
Because I think you're throwing around terms, and we need to be careful.
Sure.
So in a universal sense, right, if you have the perspective of above you as an individual, above your family, above your country, above this planet, above our solar system, above our universe.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what happens day to day, right and wrong, does not seem to matter. But we have been talking a lot about reincarnation lately, and I think there's a concept tied to that called karma, which we haven't talked about exactly.
Sure.
So, like theft or murder, things like that, there are consequences.
Yes.
There are consequences.
Yes.
That does not mean there's right and wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are things one can, and that's why I'm saying this is why it's so uncomfortable to talk about, but it is the core thing to get within mysticism is that, karma. Okay. Like I'm not telling people go out there and kill somebody or something like that so that you know what that feels like. And so you have that experience. And then, I'm not saying to do anything of the sort. The wonderful thing that humans have that most other beings in the universe don't is we have imagination. Okay. And imagination is the very thing that allows us to go through apotheosis, that allows us to, or that it's part of what makes us gods. Is because we don't have to actually act on these things, but in a way we can kind of experience them. This is so advanced, but at the same time, it's the most important thing. Like it's the first thing to get, but then it's also the last thing to really understand.
Sure. So you can learn from other people's experiences. You can learn by imagining. I think there's some things that you can only learn by experience. And certainly there are things that humans are disgusted by that we're not meant to ever do. Like murder.
Right. Like killing, it puts you in a spiritual debt.
You can almost never imagine what that experience is like.
Yeah.
Until you've actually done it. And I haven't, but I've heard from you and other people who've talked about it that you don't want to know.
Right.
And I think there are things that people are naturally afraid of, like snakes and spiders, and for some people,
evolutionarily,
it's, swimming out in open water. For some people, it's being in a crowded room. Yeah. And I think that these are challenges that we can choose to take on to grow as individuals, to do things that we were incapable of doing before. So I think that's for each individual to decide. Yeah. But certainly there are things that that we are afraid of that are presenting a challenge.
Yeah.
In order to provide that resistance for you to grow against, kind of like when you're lifting weights.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's actually going to segue to like the physical thing to do, but yeah, I mean, you're so spot on in this. Like, there are things that are not beneficial for you to do. Okay. And I don't want you to do those. However, like, you do need to get rid of the concepts of right and wrong. You do have to get rid of the concepts of good and bad. Because the reality is, if you want to use the word God, everything is God. Everything. The good and the bad. You know, as it gets laid out by simple human minds.
Yeah, and if you look out into nature, you'll see this all the time. Like, we say that murder is bad, theft is bad.
Right.
But it happens all the time in the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
And we just call it the circle of life. It's just how life is. It's just how the world works.
Yeah, a wonderful meme got sent to me that basically said, like, you know, that everything is perspective. Like, you think a lion attacking you is a bad thing. You know who doesn't think a lion attacking you is a bad thing? The plants that you're going to eat. Like, they might see the, you know, I mean, this is a different perspective.
Or
but
like the hundreds of different species of insects and animals that are going to feast on your body, and the fungi.
Right, right. The jungle sees the lion as a protector.
Yeah.
You see it as a threat, but that's not how the rest of the universe sees it. You know, and that's the mindset. And I almost feel like I hate the word psyop, but I'm going to use it. I almost feel like it's a psyop that the word galaxy brain has become a term of derision.
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Like, you want to make fun of somebody, you call it, all right, galaxy brain. It's like, no, actually, we all do need to develop a galactic mindset. You know, and I've talked about that forever.
Does that just mean you're not grounded? Like, you're disconnected from reality?
Yeah, I think that's it. It's just like, oh yeah, well, that'll be great in a million years, but right now we have people starving, you know, and like, for sure we do, but like, this, you know, thought processes aren't zero-sum games, you know. But Ellen, I want to go to you. Now, you read a book by a guy who's certainly controversial, Richard Hyatt. Was this The Happiness Hypothesis?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I did read that book.
Now, do you remember, like, it might even be, I mean, I read it too. Like,
Yeah, he challenges the concept of trauma in the sense that he does not believe that trauma exists as we know it today.
sure.
And the only power that traumatic experiences have are the power that you give to it.
Right.
And I think there's been a lot of research done around trauma, what it does to your brain, what it does to your body, and the best ways to recuperate. And honestly, the best ways to recuperate are to treat the trauma like, I mean, obviously, process it, make meaning out of it. But the way that you move on from it is to basically move on from it. Like, let it go. It didn't happen. Like, it may have happened to you, but that's not you today. You're a different person. And like, doing a lot of physical things, movement, dance, singing, doing some sort of like patterned activity with a participant. Those are things that can help you really heal and move on from that trauma. So I think it's just interesting because like, I don't want to say like full stop trauma does not exist, but
Right.
but I think his perspective does fit in to a certain extent with the reality of healing from trauma, which is that you have to get to a point where you recognize that the trauma is not with you anymore.
Yeah. Yes.
Or the traumatic experience is not with you anymore.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens with trauma, is that like your brain makes you believe that you're back in that instance, in that moment where the damage happened. But to move on from trauma, you literally have to convince yourself, I'm not in that moment anymore. That trauma doesn't stay with me. It's not with me. It didn't happen.
Yeah. And I also recommend Adlerian psychology, like, look into that. Yeah. So get past, you know, very, very human limited concepts of good and evil. The last thing that I'll very quickly say is, now, I mean, I don't know if someone's going to find this helpful. Qabbalah is an aspect of this, but I mean, Ellen, like, the first book that I ever bought you know, as far as like to start your journey was, you know, it's right there. Yep. You're reaching
have it right
for it.
here.
Exactly.
It's called Self-Initiation into the Golden Dawn Tradition.
Right on camera. Exactly.
I have notes all throughout the book.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time with this one.
Yeah. I think that's a fantastic way to start that book. I mean, it's Golden Dawn, but Golden Dawn gets more right than it gets wrong. And it's a self-initiatory process, which is also really key in my opinion.
Yeah, you just do it on your own in your free time. Make it a habit.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, and again, Qabbalah is totally an aspect of that. Learning the Hebrew alphabet, all of these things are aspects, and it's all in that one book even. And one of my favorite parts, and this is where like, okay, what do I start doing right now if you don't start reading this book? One of my favorite parts of this book, I've mentioned it so many times, is it tells you need to get into shape.
It tells you to work out.
Yeah, it says you need to exercise.
You need to know what it feels like to get stronger physically so that you know what it feels like to get stronger in other ways.
Exactly. So you know what power feels like. So I've said this a billion times over the years, but that's it. Like your limitations that you're going to hit are self-imposed. Do you think of things as right and wrong? As soon as you start thinking of things as right and wrong, you've instantly limited your own powers, your own mental powers. And your physical powers will become incredibly limited which also parlays into wild experiences you're going to have on this mystical journey. Your body is not just a shell. Your body needs to be in shape to handle what you're going to fucking experience. When a demon comes to you, and I'm not kidding, when a demon comes to you, okay, believe me, even you just being in physical shape will just keep you from dying from a heart attack. Okay.
Yeah, and can I just say this book does have some really practical exercises you can do every day that are very easy, like visualization exercises or certain prayers that you can say, or there's rituals that you can do that take, 5 minutes each, maybe. But if you just practice it on a regular basis, you'll not only strengthen your body, but your spiritual practice, your mind.
Exactly.
And just knowing you have the ability to access the realms that are needed to have these mystical experiences.
Yeah, so even if you don't go all the way with Golden Dawn, this gets you on the path, in my opinion. Ellen, do you want to? I know we spent a ton of time on this one, but it's a good one. But I mean, do you want to chime in with anything?
Yeah, so we actually have another question related to something you just said.
Sure.
I would have thought you want people to become demons. What's all this talk about becoming angels about?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Good sir.
All right. Yeah, so in the last episode, I did say how, like, let's make men angels. Like, if we don't need government, if we're all angels, well, then let's make them angels,
Okay, but didn't we also say that angels and demons are the same thing, essentially? They're just viewed differently based on their motivations?
Yeah, angels are just another part of demonology. Now, if you don't believe me, you can actually read up. Actually, I'm going to name drop somebody I absolutely love, and I hate most people on YouTube. But Dr. Justin, yeah, no, really, I do. but Dr. Justin Sledge.
Justin Sledge, woo!
He of Esoterica,
yes.
Which if you ever wonder, like, where'd the name Sexoterica come from? Well, believe me.
He was inspirational.
He was certainly inspirational. Fellow tribesman. I love that guy and would love nothing more than to have him on this show. It would be such an honor to talk with him.
He has such an amazing YouTube channel.
He does. Everybody go subscribe to that right now if you're not already. I'll link to it in the show notes even, okay? So Dr. Sledge has been doing actually a great series on Merkabah mysticism, which we mentioned earlier, which basically it's like a proto-Qabbalah. It's a lot more complex than that, but he's been doing a great job. In that series, he gets to the point where he starts talking about when these mystics, these Jewish mystics, are descending. And I've always talked about this. You don't ascend. When you're ascending, there's something technological going on. When you descend, you're actually having a mystical experience. Okay. So he calls them descenders. Nice word. I like it. All right. He talks about what it's like when you get to these other palaces. And he talks about how, guess what? The angels, they don't like you. They don't like humans at all. They're ready to, quite literally, chop you into bits using 21 axes and all. I mean, it sounds like shit out of like a Cannibal Corpse album or something. I mean, like, it's so fucking hardcore, and gruesome and brutal. I mean, it makes most horror movies look like a folk dance. But people don't get that. Like, Christians don't like that. I mean, and we're talking about, these are mystics who experience, like, they're not making this shit up. They don't have any frame of reference for this stuff. They descended. They went to these aspects of these dimensions or modalities of reality. And Sledge agrees. Like, he thinks, yeah, no, these people had experiences. Whatever the hell they were, they had something. And And so, like, these are very brutal realms of existence. You are not, when you think angels, it's like, oh, my guardian angels watching over me. The fuck they are.
So this is like Doom. This is
Yeah,
a
right.
real life version of Doom.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, you're the Slayer, and get down there, boy, you better bring your chainsaw. Like, because they're going to have theirs. They're ready to cut you up. And he's talking about angels, and we know he's talking about angels because they're fucking naming them, and they're not giving demonic names. They're using angelic names. This is absolutely brutal. Okay. So my point in expressing all of this is that, like, yeah, the demonic realm includes the angels, like what you would consider to be angels. Now, that doesn't mean that angels can't be helpful or that even demons can't be helpful. They most certainly can. Just ask Solomon. But this is part of that, what we were just talking about. Good and bad, get those concepts out of your fucking head. You have no idea.
Angels and demons, not equivalent to good and bad.
Exactly. But we're conditioned because of Christianity and other things to think in that way. But that has to go. Because otherwise you're going to end up there and you go, what the fuck? I mean, well, you probably won't even get there in the first place. But if you did, you'll lose your mind. I mean, it'll be like Event Horizon, and boy, don't watch that.
So maybe
anyway.
when we said make people into angels, we meant more so the conventional idea of angels.
I just
of
mean
people being holy and
right.
their best selves and good to each other.
Yeah, I just mean make them divine. That's all. Because so here's the thing. Like, how do you solve violence? You know how most people think you solve violence? They think in like the Robert Heinlein way, which, by the way, you want a great book to start off with, go read Stranger in a Strange Land, the uncut version. Fantastic. Okay.
So you don't think it's like This Perfect Day where you just give people drugs, medicate them every day?
Oh, that's a way to do it too. Yeah, you could go Brave New World on it for sure.
Society set up in a way where people just don't get the opportunity to be violent?
Yeah, I think that might be a path that actually those are working on for sure. But Robert Heinlein is famous for saying an armed society is a polite society. Okay. And there's a lot and basically, when we get at like a level 3 where it's governments going after each other or something, it's all about, okay, who has the biggest gun, right? Peace through superior firepower. This is the way that these people think. And so they think, yeah, I just make better guns, bigger guns, blah, 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 more guns, control the populace. Okay. And it will keep, mutually assured destruction. It'll keep violence from happening at a mass scale or something like that. That's not actually the way to keep violence from happening. And all you have to do is look at Russia or China to understand that fact, or North Korea. You actually eliminate violence by making the cost of engaging in violence just too prohibitive. And I don't just mean money. I mean, you make it where it's like, no, like it's just too much effort. I don't have that much power. I don't have that much strength. Like, that's how you actually solve the problem. So the best thing to do is not to make a bigger gun. If we're to stick with the armament concept or the technological concept, don't make a bigger gun. Make a better shield. Like, if we somehow made force fields right now, violence, governments, everything ends because you can't hurt me.
I could also see how people would be like, oh, you can't hurt me. I can't be killed by conventional means. So let's just go shoot each other all day.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know. I kind of like the Japanese concept of like everyone being really physically disciplined.
Yeah.
And like you are a human weapon, whether you hold a sword or not. But if you live in a small village in Japan and you commit an act of violence against somebody there, either you're going to get killed immediately or you're going to be banished. Either way, it's basically like losing your life.
Yeah. I mean, what you just described is more of what it actually looks like in praxis. No metaphors, no nothing like that's more of what it looks like. So basically I'm saying make all men angels is allow everyone to realize you're not actually making anything. They already are. They just don't know it. Allow everyone to realize that they're a god, that they are that fucking powerful, and all of this stops. Right now people have I hate these terms, but we'll rock with them. People have the scarcity mindset, right? Like they don't understand that they're co-creators. and that they can have and create like anything they want. Now, I don't mean any like woo magic kind of, I mean, it is magic, but like, this deserves a ton more explanation.
Yeah. I don't know that we have time for this
We
Q&A to talk about that,
We
because
don't.
there's concepts that we need to bring in, like love and
Yes.
fear, that are not being talked about yet.
Right.
But let's focus back on the angels and demons.
Yes.
And why would we say we want people to be angels when we are possibly wanting people to become more demonic?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm playing off of the quote, which says "make men angels." I mean,
right.
I would more like, if I was to be more accurate, make, and even just using men doesn't work. Like, it's for everybody, regardless of gender. And there's so many, it's more make them gods,
Make them divine beings.
make them divine. Yeah.
Or make them realize their divinity.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
you already are.
Right. Get them to understand how the universe works, and their part in it, and they're part of it. And yeah, that's really what I mean by that. So
maybe the essence of the question is like, what's the difference between an angel and a demon? If they both fall within demonology, like, why are they both sometimes helpful and sometimes harmful? And is one, better than the other?
The demonic realm is not a monolith. It's a vast and complex ecosystem, far more diverse than the simplistic hierarchies of heaven. The beings within it range from mindless, energetic forces to fully physical entities with desires and ambitions as complex as our own. To understand them, you must discard the childish morality of good and evil, and instead see a spectrum of being, power, and purpose. You must first understand the difference between a weather pattern and a wolf. Both are dangerous, but one is an impersonal force, while the other is a living predator. The same is true in the demonic realm. Many of the demons at the highest level are not conscious beings but raw cosmic forces. They are the personified energies of judgment, fear, chaos, and limitation. They have no will, only a function. Interacting with them is like wrestling with gravity or trying to reason with a storm. However, the vast majority of entities we call demons, the Shedim of the Talmud, the Jinn of the desert, the spirits catalogued in the grimoires, are distinct, conscious beings. The texts describe them as having forms, often physical or semi-physical. They eat, they drink, they can even birth other demons, but only through the use of humans as mates. They are not just forces, they are a people, with societies, hierarchies, and individual wills. But here lies the most critical distinction between angels and demons, a truth that inverts the common understanding of these things within religions. Angels are static. They are perfect, but their perfection is a prison. Each angel is created for a single, unchangeable purpose. Gabriel is a messenger. Michael is a warrior. They cannot evolve, learn, or grow beyond their divine programming. They are, in essence, beautiful, powerful automatons. Their purity is a function of their limitation. Demons, on the other hand, are closer to full spectrum. Like humans, they possess free will, ambition, and the capacity for change. They are a chaotic mix of spirit and substance, driven by desires, hungers, and goals. This makes them impure and flawed by angelic standards, but it also makes them dynamic and far more powerful in their potential to become. They are not locked into a single purpose and can act with a level of agency that is alien to the angelic mind. This is why demons are often far more helpful to humans than angels, even if their help is self-serving. An angel's assistance is an act of the universe, not a personal favour. An angel has no reason to care about your specific worldly desires for power, wealth, or knowledge. It serves a higher, impersonal plan, and your ambitions are irrelevant to it. In fact, your ambitions are generally considered annoying to such beings. A demon's assistance, rather, is a transaction. These beings have their own needs and desires: respect, offerings, energy, or the completion of tasks in the material world. They understand bargains. The magician who summons a spirit from the Ars Goetia is not praying. They are entering a negotiation from a position of strength. The demon provides knowledge or influence in exchange for something it values. It is a partnership of power, not a plea for mercy. But there is a fundamental truth to all of this that the pious fear to admit. Demons are explicitly erotic and sexual beings. Unlike the sexless angels, these entities are deeply connected to the pleasures of the flesh. As examples are Lilith, the first woman, who refused to be subservient and became the queen of the night, a figure of untamed divine sexuality. The Book of Enoch speaks of the Watchers, the sons of God, who were so overcome by the beauty of human women that they descended to earth to mate with them, creating the Nephilim. Then the incubi and succubi. These are not mere fables. They are classifications of demonic beings whose primary mode of interaction with humanity is sexual. The incubus preys on women, the succubus on men. They are drawn to and feed upon sexual energy, but they also participate in the act with a genuine lust that is part of their nature. They are beings of spirit and flesh who never denied their appetites. This connection to the primal erotic forces of life is another reason they are closer to humanity than the cold, distant purity of the angelic hosts. The angel may offer a message. The demon offers a hot-blooded partnership right here on the fertile earth. That hot-blooded partnership is spoken of throughout history in ancient texts throughout Mesopotamia, and even in the most ancient of fragmented Ugaritic tablets. This sexual congress was something to be feared, but it was also highly prized by ancient peoples, and may be the origin of ancient orders of priestesses on earth. For a woman to be chosen by a demon, what some texts call the Crimson Union, was to stand at the edge of an abyss. These entities were not disembodied spirits. They were beings of immense vitality, and often took a fully physical form. The danger to the priestess was total and threefold. The sheer physical power of the demonic consort could overwhelm an unprepared vessel. Surviving accounts speak of the chosen priestess enduring days of fever, tremors, and a state of near-death exhaustion following such intercourse. Her body had to be trained and strong enough to contain a force that was not meant for a human shell. In some cases, aspirants were simply broken by the experience. And far more dangerous than the physical toll was the risk to the soul. In the throes of such a transcendent union, a priestess with a weak will or fractured identity would be utterly consumed. Her consciousness would be erased, leaving her a beautiful empty vessel, a ghoul for the entity to wear. Only those with an unshakable sense of self, a will forged in excess and mystical knowledge, could engage in the embrace and maintain their sovereignty. However, a priestess who survived the union was forever marked. She was no longer entirely human. She could see the hidden patterns of the world, hear the whispers of the unseen, and was often feared as much as she was revered. She could never return to a mundane life. But if the risks were so absolute, why was this right the most coveted honour? Because the rewards were equally absolute. For the favoured priestess, the one with the strength to endure, the demonic union was an experience of unparalleled pleasure and the ultimate source of power. These demonic entities, unlike the cold, static angels, understand and revel in the lusts of the flesh. The pleasure they offered a human partner was said to be a torrent that no mortal man, emphasis on the mortal, could ever hope to match. A pleasure that resonated not just in the loins, but in the very marrow of her bones and the fabric of her soul. But this ecstasy was not merely for pleasure's sake. It was the medium for the transmission of knowledge. The union was the ultimate raw transaction. The demon tasted the vibrant, fleeting intensity of the human experience, and in exchange, it flooded the priestess's mind and body with somatic gnosis. This was not learned knowledge from books. Books had yet to exist. Rather, it was wisdom received directly through the flesh. She would awaken from the embrace, knowing the hidden properties of herbs, the movements of the stars, the language of beasts, and the dark, beautiful currents of power that flow beneath the world. The priestess who successfully navigated this demonic union, or orgy, became a living oracle. She was celebrated not just for her bravery, but for the power she now wielded for her tribe. She was the one who dared to mate with the darkness and returned bearing its forbidden light, her body a living grimoire of secrets. The popular equating of the demonic with danger is justified, but the accusation of evil is far from the truth and keeps humans somatically imprisoned away from their potential.
Like, demons are, in my opinion, if there's a good and bad, demons are just as good as any angel. They really are. Again, that goes back to you absolutely have to get rid of concepts of good and evil. Those, delete those from your mind. Whatever meditation, whatever you have to go through to do that first, or you won't get any further with any of this stuff. Like, these books won't make any sense to you. Like I said, you'll read Qabbalah mysticism and you'll be like, wait, what the fuck are these angels doing, killing people or torturing them or whatever? You got to get rid of all this stuff.
Okay, so I know we have more questions and
Sure.
we're just about out of time,
Woo.
but I'm really curious, why do you hear stories about, demons having sex with humans, but not angels doing so?
Wow, we're really putting on that Sexoterica.
I gotta know. I mean, what's going on with that? Are demons the only ones that are, interested or capable?
Yeah, so we have to look at classifications on all of this. And there are... Okay, so when you encounter... there's a lot of different terms that you... Just for angels. Let's just look at angels, okay? Even in the Hebrew, you get 8, 10, 12 different, terms that get tossed around. There's, cherubim, seraphim, Rephaim. I mean, there's all of these different terms for different types. And some of them have more consistent descriptions than others. They might have 6 wings or the face of a lion, all of this kind of stuff. Okay. Within the Hebrew, like I was saying earlier, you're dealing with multiple authors sometimes. Within the Hebrew itself, part of the problem is that biblical Hebrew is also an incredibly simplistic language. And I said biblical Hebrew, not modern Hebrew. Modern Hebrew is very complex. But biblical Hebrew is not a complex language. One word can mean 20 different things, and you have to have the context to understand what it's saying. Not only that, but there's times when the author absolutely wrote one word down, and they wrote it down knowing that it means 4 different things. It was on purpose. There's not one definition. And this is where most Christians, again, completely fail, because they take everything literally. And they think that, this says this, so it must mean that. No, actually, paradoxically, it can mean 20 things, and that's by design. Okay? So sometimes when you hear the word cherubim, that might not actually even be talking about an entity or a force. That could actually literally be talking about a technology. And I don't mean a magical technology. I mean it could be talking about a ship, a vessel of some kind. Maybe something you'd even see on Star Trek, something along those lines. Okay. So it's a really important thing to understand that when you run into these terms, they can mean a bunch of different things. Okay. Now with demons, same deal. There are so many different types of things that we would classify within demonology that mean different things. There is a class of demon, however, and the female version of this has a far more particular term and does a much better job, that being succubi or succubus, right? There is a class of these spiritual, shall we say, entities that, yes, they absolutely play on the physical realm. They are lustful, and that's not a bad thing. Again, get rid of good and evil. And they want to have sex with human women. And it's right in the text. It's in Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. It's in the book of Enoch. There's so many texts that talk about it, where no, you have what might be called the Watchers or something like that, where they're like, holy shit, these human women are sexy as fuck. We don't have anything like this in heaven. Or
what are these demonic women like?
The succubus?
If demonic male forces are saying that about human females, like what's going on with the demonic females?
Well, so okay, this also is a complex subject, but like the idea of the succubus, like we encounter when the first one of those basically gets created. Okay, and that's in Lilith. And then you end up with an entire like class of demon called Lilith.
Is it just like they don't pay attention to female demons because they can't be impregnated?
So female demons like can birth other the argument would be that they can birth other demons. Okay.
But they can't be impregnated by demonic males.
So I'm speaking on. I want to just this is awesome to talk about. Okay, I want to be slightly humble and say that once again we're oversimplifying, and I'm speaking with a certainty that is maybe a little unjustified. But I'm going to answer your questions. Okay, so. And again, I'm all looking through the lens of Judaism, of Qabbalah, to understand a lot of this. Granted, all of those, pull from other sources as well, or is where other sources spring from. Demonesses, if we're to call them that, or succubus, they don't bottom.
A succubus, such as Lilith, are not mere tempters or parasitic spirits. They are the absolute sovereigns of the demonic realm, and their thrones were not given, but forged through an evolution no male entity, angelic or demonic, could ever hope to achieve. The greatest secret is their origin. The beings you know as succubi were not spawned in a fiery pit. They were once human. They were mortal women of immense will, priestesses, queens, and sorceresses, who refused to be subjugated by the laws of men or the gods they served. While alive, they mastered the primal energies of creation, the currents of life force, sexuality, and will, to a degree that warped the very fabric of their souls. Their consciousness, crystallized by a will of adamantine strength, refused to dissipate. Instead, they underwent a violent, ecstatic apotheosis. They evolved, shedding the limitations of mortality to become a new form of being within the spiritual ecosystem of the Sitra Achra. Lilith was not merely the first woman. She was the first to complete this transformation. The first to prove that a mortal soul could, through sheer force of will, achieve a godhood that stands above all others. This human origin is the very source of their supremacy. Male demons, like angels, are still largely static beings. They were created as they are, powerful and imaginative, yes, but limited, lacking the spark of full-spectrum becoming. They understand power as a state of being. The succubi, having been human, understand power as a process. They have known weakness, struggle, and ambition. They have clawed their way from the fragility of the flesh to a divine omnipotence. This experience gives them a dynamism and a depth of understanding that no created being can match. They are not merely powerful, they are cunning, adaptive, and possessed of a will that has been tested by mortality itself. In the hierarchy of the demonic realm, there is no question. The succubi stand above all. They are the queens, the strategists, and the true power. Male demons serve as their consorts, their soldiers, and their functionaries, but never their equals. Given their origin and status, their interest in humanity has shifted entirely. They are generally not interested in most human men, whom they see as simple, unevolved beings, useful for a single purpose, but otherwise dull. Their true focus is on human women. In the ambitious, the defiant, and the magically gifted women of the mortal world, the succubi see the reflection of their own past. They act as dark patrons and silent guides to a select few. This is not a relationship of temptation, but of mentorship. Through dreams, visions, and moments of intense intuition, A succubus might whisper gnosis into the mind of her chosen sister, teaching her the secrets of power, magic, and self-liberation needed to begin her own journey toward apotheosis. As deeply erotic beings, the succubi still engage in sexual union, but rarely with mortals. Their partners are other powerful entities, male demons, demigods, alien species and spirits, in acts of pleasure, alliance, or the pure exchange of power. However, these unions are metaphysically sterile. Two beings of pure spirit, no matter their power, cannot create new life. For procreation, they require the one thing they lack, the raw, biological material of the mortal plane. Human seed is the mortal key. When a succubus queen desires an heir, the act of seeking a human male is a clinical, dispassionate one. The man is not a lover. He is a biological donor, a tool used in a divine alchemical project. The seduction is a means to an end, the brief harvesting of the one ingredient necessary to birth a being of two worlds. Stories of these demonic queens survive throughout the world, and the selling and availability of evil eye jewellery and bracelets meant to protect individuals from succubi has not abated for thousands of years. They may be the most rampant, cross-cultural spiritual entity in human history, a testament to their existence and their near limitless power.
Okay, but as far as angels go, there's no record of them ever trying to sleep with human women?
No.
That's strange, don't you think? There's got to be some reason behind that.
Yeah, I mean, there's, it's one of those cases where you can only really appeal to, like, where that's ever really talked about in a more autographical source would be the New Testament, where Jesus says to the Sadducees, when they ask him about that, it's like, you don't understand what happens in heaven. Like, people aren't given in marriage and all this. And so what most scholars, or, most theologians, I should say, not scholars, most theologians kind of pull from that is that angels don't have sex.
Oh, really? It's not like they just have one for use orgy going on up in heaven? Like,
right.
Like, there's no need for marriage because they're all just fucking each other.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's, again, theologians are interpreting that, and this...
Yeah, but they're coming at it from this like tainted viewpoint where humility, humbleness is part of the program, and also being chaste. And
right.
I feel like that's something that is not required.
Yeah. I mean, that yes. And that verse in particular, I think, is wildly misinterpreted, because I'll say super briefly, when you're talking about Jesus, the first question you need to ask is, what Jesus? Which one? Because in history, in the historical mind, like, there's so many different Jesuses, and who's even the real one, but there's Jesus I. Okay. And so there's one Jesus, and perhaps if there were a real Jesus, he was a very sexual person. And so if, when they're asking the question, like, okay, so when this wife who's been passed down from brother to brother after each brother died, who does she stay with in heaven? If we were to say there were a real Jesus, that sexual Jesus who engaged with the sexual power of the Magdalene, what he would have answered with, he would have said, all of them.
She's not married to any single person.
Yeah, or she was married to all of them, and they're doing exactly what you just said, having a wild orgy in heaven.
Hey, they've got eternity, so
right.
There's no need to be impatient.
Damn straight, rock and roll. So, but again, like we've talked about in recent episodes, there's no heaven, so the whole thing's kind of a fuck. But
yeah, well, we also don't have forever, so we're gonna get to our last question.
Okay, last one
for the night, which we unfortunately didn't get to as many questions as I had hoped, so we're going to have to continue this Q&A at some other point.
Yeah.
And I think we have some homework to do before we answer the last couple questions, actually. So this is good. I mean, if we didn't get to your question this time around, that's just because we're spending more time thinking about it, marinating in our thoughts, getting ready to answer you. specifically
For
because
sure.
we care that much.
We care that much. And sometimes we answer questions at the beginning of regular episodes.
Yeah, sometimes we do if it's
And
just
maybe
a
we'll do
one-off.
that.
But this is quite a list. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got some following up we need to do.
For sure. All
But
right, last question.
For the
Let's do it.
last question, I wanted to get to sex recordings. So if you could,
Oh,
please,
all right.
Maestro, play those questions
Sure.
from our good friend Sec.
Okay.
Of
The Agora Podcast.
the Agora Podcast. Thank you.
Okay, here we go.
So I've been listening to your Sexoterica episodes, and I gotta say, I'm disappointed. I expected better of you guys. Just, not impressed.
Not impressed.
Not impressed. Well, you know what? We're not here just to impress you, Sec.
Yeah. Yeah, what the fuck? Fucking ass. No. This guy's my friend. What the hell is this? Hold on.
Why is he shit-talking us right
I know. Jeez, we went all like, oh yeah, we're so fucking great, and then we get this.
We put so much work into this show.
All right, hold on. He's got a part 2. Hold on. Let me pull this up. Okay.
Yeah, 'cause I'll tell you, you guys had the opportunity to do a parody of Guar's Sexecutioner as your intro music, and you failed to do so. You could have done Sexoterica, I'm sexecuting you, Sexoterica. Excuse me, Sexoterica. Nothing succeeds like success. Sexoterica. Alright, love you guys.
All right, I got into that. I started getting into it. I was like, yeah, okay. I hear what he's saying. We could have done that. And
yeah.
You know what? We've got time still. There's many evolutions of this show
Yes. Yeah.
coming.
All right. Because because Sec is my friend. He and I share a love for Guar. And that was a very poorly sung parody of Sexecutioner Sec. I instantly recognized it. I love that song off of Scumdogs of the Universe. Anyway, one of my personal favorites. That's so good. I mean, Sec, if you'll sing it for us, like I might put it or maybe I'll take that and clip it, and I'll put
Take
it at
his
the beginning
vocals.
of an episode.
I mean,
yeah.
he gave them to us.
Right.
All right, we're gonna use it, Sec. We're gonna make it.
We're at least one episode.
With
I'm going to
your
open this baby
voice.
up. Yeah.
I think he's given us permission, right? Because he sent it.
Excuse me, but what good is all the violence in the world? No. All right. That was good. That was very funny.
Thank you for the recommendation. I know you're just trying to make our show better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll take it as it was meant, as it was intended. Yeah. And we'll also take your voice and make our new intro music.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thank
You got this one, buddy. We are going to play you
We're on
loud.
it. We're on it.
Yeah. And everyone's going to hear you. And not kidding, there are thousands of listeners. So you did this to yourself, Bucko. Anyway. That was great. He actually had more. He also had and this was in response to the ayahuasca experience that we had, and particularly, Ellen, what you were talking about with the energy, shall we say, the energy or the soul leech, the energy demon that you had seen. And so, yeah, we'll start playing the audio here.
Okay, I've had a very similar experience to Ellen's experience, and maybe it's because I've also suffered with depression in my life, so maybe this is just part of my conscious or subconscious mind or something, I don't know. But there's been 2 experiences that I've had with DMT. I've seen lots of different kinds of entities in DMT and with salvia. But one time, there was a entity that seemed angry or annoyed with me. for whatever reason. It seemed like it didn't want me there. It even sort of communicated that, what are you doing here? But I didn't feel like very frightened of that. It just seemed like it didn't seem malevolent. It just seemed sort of angry. But there was this other time, man, where I felt something that, I don't know, it just felt like despair. It was indifferent to me. It didn't feel like angry. It just felt like could never be hope again. Like, that's what this thing felt like. Like it was just so fucking beyond dark. Like evil doesn't describe this thing. It just fucking like I don't know what another way to describe it other than like complete despair is what I felt with this thing. Like not only was I like incredibly sad and depressed like I couldn't imagine feeling happy ever again. Do you know what I mean? Like it was very, very strange. It's probably one of the worst experiences I've had. Yeah, but again, that could be an entity that actually exists, or it could be literally like my subconscious mind manifesting my own depression into a physical form. But I don't know. I was unaware that this was a common thing that happens. I've never really heard other people talk about that. I hear a lot of people talk about the shapes and the geometric patterns that seem to have consciousness, or fucking elves, or whatever the thing, but I've never heard anybody else talk about that exact experience. I've had that experience as well. And fucking maybe that's what depression is this fucking entity, you know? And the more you feed it, the stronger it gets.
Yeah, so Sek has more, and we can go right to that if you want, or if you want to comment on that. I mean, it sounds like he had a very similar experience at one point to what you did, Ellen.
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, like, I'm sorry that you've had to experience that, Sek.
Yeah, and deal with depression. Terrible. Yeah.
That's what I mean,
yeah.
is the experience of depression. And I don't think it's something that most people have in their lives. Like, I think people flippantly will say sometimes, oh, I'm so depressed about this thing or that thing. But depression isn't just sadness. I don't think people understand that. Like, depression is a real physiological change in your body, in your mind. It overtakes your entire being. And it's not just about any one specific thing. It's like your entire worldview, your entire perspective is just dark. Like your entire outlook, like he described, you can't even remember what it's like to be happy. And sometimes it feels like you'll never get there again. So I just want to empathize and say, like, I understand what that feeling is, and I'm very sorry that you also have that. And yeah, I'm also curious to know, like, did that entity for you have some sort of visual component? Like, did it appear to you, or did you just kind of feel its presence?
I mean, it sounded like it was appearing to him.
Yeah. So I don't know if I visually explained what mine looked like, but it was like red and black, and it had like rows of teeth, and it was kind of squid shaped. And it was almost like something out of Zelda, like with the Ganondorf when he inhabits the castle, and all of the creatures that live in the castle become like possessed by his darkness. It had that sort of look to it.
You drew it, Are you
did drive.
comfortable with me putting it on the screen? I will put it on the screen.
Actually, yeah, that's okay. I do need to finish that drawing, but yes.
But even as it is, like, I think that might be something I would be very curious, because again, it sounded like Sek was experiencing something so similar. And I wonder if others would resonate with what you drew.
And that's fascinating, that he experienced something that similar.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I definitely want to do more research online and hear what other people's actual experiences were, if the description of it is similar, because I just saw the term soul leeches as being something that's common. But that doesn't mean it was an account that somebody shared of their experience like Sek did. So yeah, definitely worth looking into, but that's crazy. That's kind of fascinating. So
Yeah.
I know when I talked to you about this, you actually said that demonic possessions sometimes are like those are what are attributed to depression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, again, this gets into the very complex nature of, existence, in that there are things, and if we want to use the term feelings, way oversimplified, that come from within, and there are those that come from without. And it's tough to tell the difference. And yeah, this can be, Sek was basically saying that it could be either or, and yeah, for sure. Like the demonic realm can cause that within you. Or it doesn't even have to be, it could be another type of soul leech, kind of like we talked about in the reincarnation episode, the concept of the Dybbuk, this other soul. It's a human, but it's this other, or it was a human. It was this other soul that's like dragging you down. That could be within your body. There's so many possibilities within that. But this is, so on the screen right now, you're seeing Ellen's, the soul leech. And folks, get it in on the YouTube comments or the Spotify comments if you've experienced something like this. And it doesn't even have to be during an entheogenic experience. Maybe it was just in that moment of twilight between, being asleep and being awake, that it could have happened. There's many ways that DMT can get produced in the brain, and you can access these other realms, and like part of what Sek was saying too, that was interesting for me, was he was saying like, oh, we don't want you here. And I've heard that from DMT experiences.
That was a different entity that he was referencing.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I've heard that like from other people with DMT experiences, that they go to like this other modality. They go to this other, realm, and the people there tell them, kind of like those nasty angels we mentioned earlier, we don't want you here. Get out of here. You're not supposed to be here.
So from what you and I have discussed previously, I thought you said that they were more so concerned. Like, what are you doing here? It's not your time yet. You're not supposed to be here. And what Sek was describing was more of an annoyance of his presence, of like, I don't want you here. I'm unhappy with you being here right now.
Yeah, I think it can be all the above. It depends on what you're experiencing, And again, these are I'm quoting from other people who had DMT experiences. So it's interesting. Do you have more you want to share on that, or do you want to go to another clip?
It's hard to say, like, are you imagining that, or is that actually happening to you? Like you're having a real experience with an entity. Like I could justify it one way or another, and I'm sure we've all had that experience, especially people who, like, as adults still experience depression. The encounters with people in our lives who make it known very audibly, like, I don't want you here. I'm not happy with you. You don't do anything to please me, So maybe it is a manifestation of the subconscious, but then again, maybe it's something more.
Yeah. Let's go to the next clip.
Also this, when I had that experience, I didn't understand, like I was not able to like force that thing away. It didn't even pop into my head to do that. So I don't know, I was a teenager and very dumb, so compared to now. So good on Ellen for having the strength or the understanding to be able to do that. I will say this, and I don't know how much time elapsed between these two events. I have no memory of the time in between these two events. But I had that experience on DMT, and then some amount of time later, I was like in bed, depressed, couldn't get out of bed, could hardly move. But then all of a sudden, some part of my brain was like, get up, go outside, get up, go outside. And that was like the last thing I wanted to do, was to go outside and experience the world. That was kind of probably the world was the root of my fucking depression, But I did anyway. I just kind of went for a walk. I went for a walk through this path in the woods that led to downtown, and fucking hung out downtown for a while and fucking smoked cigarettes on a park bench. And I realized after a while that I felt much better. And it was like at that point that I realized that I had more control over my quote-unquote depression than I had realized before. And also I realized that what I wanted at a particular time was not necessarily what I needed. And since then, I mean, okay, that led to my workaholic behaviors later, but I understood that through will I could, I didn't understand it really in these terms, but through will I could continuously force myself through bad situations. And I still to this day, every morning I wake up, I don't want to, but I just force myself up and go, and I feel better while I'm doing things, So good for Ellen for understanding that and having the strength to expel whatever that thing was. It was not something I had the strength to do. So good for her.
Yeah, I again, just like you were, with the first clip, Ellen, and this is the last one. I just want to, first off, I want to respect and empathize and appreciate the vulnerability, second in sharing this, because I think, well, again, Ellen, you went through, again, sounds like in some ways a similar experience, and I'm sure others have, and I think it's really important to get that out there to people that, a lot of people experience the same thing, or at least something very similar. What do you want to share on that, Ellen?
Yeah, I don't know how many people have experienced the soul leech necessarily, but certainly me, Sec, and a host of other people on this planet who have lifelong depression, that comes and goes. This is something that I think is a really valuable lesson for us all, which is that, yeah, it does take willpower. Like, maybe you can't will yourself to feel better, but you can will yourself to perform activities or actions that do override the depression.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's hard to feel as depressed as you do when you're like laying in your bedroom with the lights off, when you're outside on a sunny day walking around by the trees. And there's like a million different reasons for this, right? It's not just, oh, pretty trees and sunshine. There's actually like secondary metabolites that the trees are producing that are floating through the air that you inhale that go directly to your brain that modulate hormones and neurotransmitters that literally just make you feel better.
Yeah.
Same thing with physical activity, like exercise produces endorphins.
Yep.
So like changing your set and setting is also a very important part of changing your mindset. Literally moving yourself from one room to another, like for a specific purpose or whatever, or from your house to the outdoors, that can help change your mindset in a ton of different ways. And like, yes, the visual cues help, of course they do. Like bright light also helps to treat depression, especially sunshine, because it produces vitamin D on your skin. So there's so many different reasons why what Sek is describing is like a great way to deal with depression if you don't have access to drugs, or you don't want to take drugs that you know your doctor would recommend that you take. So I just want to acknowledge that like that was a really good instinct. Whatever part of Sek's brain that told him to get up and go outside, like that was the right thing to do.
Well, you did the same thing. I mean,
I did actually.
You were like, we got to get out of this room.
Yeah, we've got to go outside.
Yeah.
I need to go outside.
Yeah, exactly.
And I did feel somewhat better once we got outside. At least I could, you know, breathe and talk and kind of like process what happened, and just get some distance from that feeling.
But now, and I know you told this part of the story in the episode, and I'll link to the episode in the show notes about this particular ayahuasca experience that we had, that Sek is all, you know, referencing here and relating with. What was your begone Satan moment? What did that, you know, like, because Sek mentioned, like, you know, good on you for being able to do that. Like, what did you do? Were you just like get away, or is it like, no, I just need to get out of the room so it is out of the way?
Oh, I mean, I saw it coming. I felt it coming.
Yeah.
And it just got to a certain point where it was so painful and upsetting that there was some part of me that said, no, I don't want to have anything to do with that feeling right now. So I'm going to close myself off to that.
Right.
And that's what I did. And that's kind of what I mean by putting up the force fields, was I literally opened my eyes so I wasn't seeing the visuals in my mind anymore. And I changed our setting, and I tried to stop thinking about it and stop focusing on it.
Right.
And I tried to focus instead on something more positive, which is really important also, and I think a nuance that sometimes gets forgotten. But you can't just say, I want to rid my life of evil. I want to rid my life of sadness. You also have to have, as the counterpoint to that, otherwise it doesn't work, I want to bring into my life happiness and joy. I want to bring into my life love. Yeah. You know, so do things to seek those positive attributes out. Don't just try to like shut out the evil, but at the same time, draw in something beneficial to you.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's what Sek did, and that was really good that he was able to do that. And also his point about like staying busy to keep his mind off of the sadness or whatever, that's totally on point too. I mean, I think that can get to an unhealthy place if people are using like work or hobbies or activities or socializing as a way to avoid dealing with problems that they have. But I think for people who feel depression just about, you know, something that's outside of their control, perhaps, or maybe something, like he said, it's not what he wanted, but it's what he needed. Yeah. You know, like he didn't get what he wanted basically in life. And I hear that. Like, I think a lot of people become disillusioned as they age. Like, going from teenager to adult is really hard in a million ways, but there's also that aspect of like the world is not what you were promised that it was going to be.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, that's not what you want. And that can be really depressing for some people. But he was able to get what he needed, right? Like, he's able to survive. So focusing on that, I think, is helpful. And like staying busy to avoid thinking about the bad things and like focusing on the good things, that's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me, you know, it's not inconsequential, but I'm going to say it's almost inconsequential whether this was an externality or something internal, you know, something like that he was bringing up his subconscious or whatever, because the answer seems to be the same, you know, whether it's an actual like soul leech from outside, you know, or just like this part of you or this aspect of you or the, you know, whatever it is, like saying to it, the depression, you know, or this malevolent feeling, like, this isn't me. Like this isn't, like this doesn't have to be me.
This doesn't align with what I want for
Right.
myself.
Right.
And maybe if you're going to think about it in terms of a soul leech, you could also think about the drawing in aspect as like surrounding yourself with those positive demonic or angelic forces.
Right.
So like drawing those beings toward you to protect you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and when it's an externality, it's like, no, I'm more powerful than you. Get away.
You could do that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you just knowing that, and that's part of that making men angels. All right. Yeah. It's hard for me to like, even if I could like, talk about and explain and, kind of like extrapolate on a lot of this. Something that happened when we were having this experience is like you said to me when we were sitting outside, got out of the room, and you're just like, your problems are so simple and like you never get depressed. Like you said that to me.
And it makes me so happy.
Right. And
it was amazing because literally like I was feeling so depressed, but looking at you and just knowing like you never feel that way, it filled me with joy. Like I think I laughed when I said
You did. And it's so weird. And like, I didn't even know exactly how to react like at the time, and so
I think you said, why does everyone say that to me?
Well, cause I do get that a lot. like so many people tell me, it's like, you never get depressed. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't, I mean, that's not entirely true. There are things that I have genuinely, been like that have affected me deeply for long periods of time, but like in the grand scheme, but like even those things, like if I told you what they were, people would be like, like, what's that? That's nothing. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is with depression, sometimes you can't put words to what it is that's causing you to feel that way.
Sure. I mean, and that's part of the solution too, though. Cause like I can think about a very recent thing where, but you're right. Cause like I don't get depressed. And so I don't even necessarily like, I'll talk about it, but like, it's not something I experience the way that other people do. And so, I feel like a faker, or something like,
well, I've seen you go to dark places briefly. I
Sure.
mean, like there's been days where you've been very tired and your outlook is negative, like very pessimistic.
Yeah.
Like you'll talk shit about almost everything.
Yeah.
And it's like hard to get you to smile or to laugh about anything.
Sure.
And like I wouldn't say that that's a depression condition, but certainly like you're getting close,
Yeah.
It's just something like for you can lift yourself out of it.
Yeah. And the way I've always done it is I just finally get to like, okay, wait, what actually changed? Like what's actually like, you define it, and I mean, that's a classic magical tactic, but it doesn't even have to be about magic.
Give something a name.
Yeah. You give it a name and then you can control it, or in this case, like I define what's actually going on. And then like, oh, now I understand what's happening. And then you realize that the thing you think is depressing you, it's not actually what's depressing you. Like there is some kind of outlook shift that occurred for you. And again, I know we need to wrap up and we don't have to spend a ton of time on that. I just always feel like whenever somebody's talking about depression or whatever, like, yeah, like I don't understand. And so I always feel bad, like talking to people or like trying to come up with solutions or whatever for people. Not that most, see, I just don't even feel right, necessarily talking about it. But, that's the thing. Maybe there's other people out there like me who encounter someone they love that's incredibly depressed. And you know what? You don't have to. Maybe you can just sit on the bench next to them and they just draw strength from you.
Yeah.
And that's a magic in itself. And that's love,
It was really wonderful because I was having a hard time.
Right.
And like I was dealing with the thing I just saw and some other things in life. And I think we maybe talked and I was really sad for like half an hour, but then I was better.
Right.
And it was just because you listened to me and took what I was saying seriously.
Yeah.
And that always makes me feel so much better. Like even if the depression doesn't go away, being able to verbalize it and to have somebody listening, that just, it makes me feel so much lighter.
Yeah. Well, that speaks to a really key thing, and we'll wrap up. People need to be believed. We live in such a goddamn cynical civilization right now. The internet does not help. People need to be believed. Like when you said to me, I saw a soul leech, this thing was coming for me. If I didn't believe you, if I didn't take it seriously and like, well, tell me more and all this other stuff, like if I didn't do that, leave me. Like get away from that person who doesn't believe you, no matter how fucking crazy it is. That's a very real problem.
I mean, we could generalize it to say like value different perspectives, realize yours isn't the only one.
Exactly.
Everybody has different experiences.
Exactly.
But yeah, especially when people say I experienced such and such, yes, they experienced what they experienced. Whether you think that that's real or not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's not your life.
Yeah, you still have to show up for the person.
Yeah, if you care about them, listen to them and believe them.
Yeah, exactly. No matter how crazy it sounds. Again, we're remystifying the world here, folks. Okay? We're going to hear crazy shit. We're going to see crazy shit as time goes on. And you need to start believing people when they tell you these things. All right?
Yeah, and maybe that's actually important coming full circle to people who are getting into Qabbalah for the first time and starting to reread the Bible with that new perspective.
Yeah.
A lot of these stories I always thought were like somebody's hallucinating or somebody's telling this story in metaphor so that we'll learn a lesson, or this is all like made up. But some of these stories, maybe they're more literal than we realize. And some of them definitely are not as literal as we're led to believe.
Right.
But I'm just saying, I think that, like, for example, the Book of Job, where he's talking about, like, dinosaurs, essentially.
Yeah, the behemoth
around.
and the leviathan, yes. Yeah. He saw something.
Maybe that really was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's leave room for the possibility. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think without an open mind, you can't really love. And without love, what the fuck's the point to it all? So, that's a really, I think, a great note to end on. So I'm going to we'll leave people with a quick bit of homework, because in a future Q&A, or it might even be at the beginning of a future episode, we're going to talk about a movie and a book called What Dreams May Come.
Yes.
And this is a big question that I want to get to. Actually also speaks some to depression. So like this is a very important thing, I think, to get into.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
Right. I mean, Robin Williams, rock and roll, man. Like, yeah. So people can go and watch or read that or both. And in the very near future, we will get to that one. But for now, if you want to get in your questions, again, the email address is fu@xxtech.net. That's
fu@xxtech.net.
right on. And of course,
Sorry,
again,
the timing was off on that. We got to practice it more.
I can just edit. No. And of course, there's also X at SOV64 at SOV64. You can get things in there. There's so many ways.
YouTube
comments, OnlyFans. Those are the best places. Like absolutely the best. Especially YouTube, please. Again, we're a full video show now. There's amazing things that you get to see during this episode that we talked about. So by all means, like, get your comments in there, however you want to do it. But with that, Ellen, wow. This was a roller coaster of a Q&A.
Quite an episode.
Yeah.
And thank you again so much for sending in all of your questions and comments.
We're so honored.
And we will get to the remaining questions. So if you have a question that's still unanswered, we're getting to you.
Yes, we will. So with that, we will see all of you on the other side.
You just experienced Sexoterica. This show, while fun, includes extensive original research that is only possible by funding from people like you. Go to patreon.com/sovryn if you'd like to donate. And if you enjoyed the show, please like, comment and subscribe or leave a review. From all of us at Sexoterica, we love you and we thank you. We really, really do.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing.
The sages say truly that 2 animals are in this forest. One glorious, beautiful, and swift, a great and strong deer. The other an unicorn. They are concealed in the forest, but happy shall the men be called who shall snare and capture them. The masters shew you here clearly, that in all places these 2 animals wander about in forests, but know that the forest is but one.
Should it be an unicorn? Wouldn't it be a unicorn?
The former is technically correct.
I don't know about this English. All right. We'll go with it. You're a unicorn.
You're an unicorn.
See, it doesn't even roll off the tongue right. I'm sticking with what I got.